But for starters, Deposit Solutions is really an amazing story, and I'm good friends, as you know, with Max from Bismarck, and I've listened from the story from the beginning. Summarize what Deposit Solutions is. Let's start with that, and then we should talk about your new investor.
No, happy to, and thanks for having us. I mean, we've been at NOAH for third consecutive year now, I think, both Berlin and London, and it's amazing to see how you've grown and what a great event you've built, so hats off to that.
Only with our speakers, so that's...
Right, so Deposit Solutions is an open banking platform for deposits, and deposits obviously are for savers simple savings products, so it's about instant access, notice accounts and fixed term accounts, but for banks, deposits are a really important funding source, right? So across the EU, 40% of banks' balance sheets is in deposits. Mm-hmm. And with our platform, we enable banks to offer to their own customers the deposit products of third-party banks. That really transforms the user experience for the savers because they can now use deposits like products instead of having to go to different banks and open accounts. Again and again, right? Which is a lot of work. And you can stay now like you would buy a share in your home bank environment, use those products, have them in the portfolio. So this is great for the savers and their home banks. And on the other hand, we have deposit-taking banks, so basically every bank, because they all need to fund themselves, who can list their deposit offers on our platform, and then firstly reach a huge addressable market, or these captive customer groups, but also do so without having to run their own retail infrastructure, which is really costly, right? So banks don't even need a banking system that is capable of running retail business in order to work with us. So that's basically our proposition, and to enhance the proposition for deposit-taking banks, we also operate our own proprietary point-of-sale channels, so distribution channels under the brands of Zinspilot and Savedo, and they are also great standalone business actually and growing really fast, but they are sort of part of that proposition to our deposit-taking banks.
Can you share like some basic numbers with us?
Of course. So what I can do is I can share the numbers for our proprietary point of sales because we run them ourselves and through our own platform. So that's just the platforms that we own and operate, the saver-facing platforms we own and operate. We have mediated more than 10 billion euros in deposits now in just 3 years. So it's gotten quite sizable. And also, what's great is that the growth has kept accelerating. So we're almost at 1 billion a month now in transmitted deposits. We have the B2C business has about 170,000, more than 170,000 customers, and that's also doubled year on year. So we have started to increase our footprint also to different countries. We are now servicing more than 80 countries. More than 80 banks in 16 countries. And that's where we are today.
Amazing. And Torsten, Vitruvian is a growth capital, almost buyout business. So you looking or investing into fintech companies shows us that the sector comes to a certain size where it's really attractive for bigger funds. Maybe you can share a few words about Vitruvian. I think you backed Just Eat and Farfetch and amazing businesses.
We did, yeah. Vitruvian is a growth capital fund, as you said. We recently raised our third fund, which is a 2.4 billion euro fund, which we think makes us one of the largest, or perhaps the largest in Europe to invest in growth capital companies. And as you rightly say, fintech companies have become extremely attractive for us. We've had a very active financial services practice for a number of years. We've started backing financial services businesses, really since the beginning of Vitruvian 10 years ago. But more recently, we've invested in quite a few very high growth, truly exciting fintech businesses. Deposit Solutions obviously being at the pinnacle of that. But we invest in companies like Smava, which is also a Berlin-based company that's very familiar to a lot of people here. And in a company called CFC, which is a cyber insurance business. So we have a very diversified portfolio of fintech companies. But I'm also very pleased to have invested alongside Tim and his team. We followed the company for a number of years already and have witnessed their success and been very impressed by, as you rightly say, by the growth rate that the company has achieved. We're all about growth. Deposit Solutions is a business that grows at over 300% currently, adding nearly €1 billion of assets under management every month. And that is what gets us
only
excited.
0.1% of what the opportunity is, right? Have you looked at you are investors, so I'm sure you hired McKinsey or somebody to do some market studies. How big is the market?
According to what we measured, and Tim probably has more precise numbers, but we think the overall deposit market globally is a 50 trillion market. I think that's the largest market we've ever seen.
Yeah.
In Europe, it's probably 8 to 10 trillion, but this is a global opportunity ultimately. But maybe you have even more precise data than I do.
That's right. I mean, the market is huge. I think deposits. Most people, when thinking of deposits, would maybe not think that's the most sexy product category they've ever heard of. But there are
certainly not sexy when I look at the interest rate I get in Switzerland for the cash I have.
Exactly. But there are two things that really excite us. One is that it's a really poorly served product category. So arguably the last innovation in the space has been online banking. Right? It's working really badly.
How flexible is the platform? Can you, because one of the worries I would have is if I send my cash to, I don't know, Portugal, I guess, where you get a little bit more interest rate, how fast can I get it back? Is it like as fast as these banking platforms who all presented right now?
Yeah, I mean the deposit platform is pan-European, but it's not a cross-border business. So I started the company 8 years ago with just German banks on both sides, right? Because it's really about connecting banks with different business models. So every bank needs retail deposit.
I was more thinking about the
funding.
Consumer side. You're
Yeah, but every bank needs retail client liabilities in their funding mix. But some banks are wholesale banks. They don't have good access. So it's not necessarily so much a cross-border play. Of course, we have a European market, so banks from all countries can list. And then it's the point of sale owner. So for instance, Deutsche Bank, who have connected or implemented our platform into their online banking, or Zinsbrot, our own, or Fidelity, or all those other points of sales. We have more than 40 points of sales and signing 2 a week at the moment to offer the products. It's for them to then curate the offering, right? Out of the universe of products, we have more than 40 banks who are taking deposits with probably more than 400 products or so. And then the point of sale can curate the offering for their own customers.
Fascinating. And Torsten, in the fintech space, they raised like 20, 30, 40 million. A few months later, they are like 3-digit million. And it is a bit of a rat race right now in terms of who's raising the most money. Is that concerning you? And are you concerned about this to find new new use of capital where you employ all this cash? Because it feels like now there's a really bonanza about the fintech companies and fundraising. Are you scared or worried
here's the little
about?
secret that people don't know. Deposit Solutions is about break even.
Oh my God, that's a bigger problem
soon
you
to
have.
Be break even. So we don't actually need to raise that much more capital. At least Tim hasn't told me so yet. Maybe we'll have a chat afterwards. But you're right. This is a competitive market. People end up paying very high multiples for what are very exciting businesses. And I think that's the market we operate in. And I think we're cognizant of that. And if we want to play, we have to pay those prices. But we're very discerning. We look very carefully at the unit economics of these businesses. Again, here is a business that has very, very attractive unit economics, very short payback times. Those things really matter to us. So we go very deep in the commercial diligence into understanding the quality of the business model. And those things were, these boxes are checked very easily by Deposit Solutions. At the same time, if there's more growth to be had, we're very happy to follow our investments, put more money into the deal. It's a sizable deal.
And
but
you have done this in other deals also.
And we've done it, like you said before, with Farfetch, for example. We've kept on following the every single round.
Congratulations for the IPO.
Thank you. That was a deal for us. So we're very happy to continue to back our winners, and that's the plan here, to put more money into the business. But if there is yet more money to be raised, obviously, new investors are always welcome, and that's.
Is there a
the
US
story.
angle here? Could you go to the US market, or is the US market so different that there's no space for deposits?
No, it's actually an exciting opportunity. We have just quite recently set up a US company, and we're looking to launch in the first half of next year. So it's a large deposit market. And with regard to the funding size, I guess you're right. It's always tempting, but we have, over the different funding rounds we have done, we've always made sure to take just as much as necessary.
And the investors
and not
come
as much as
with
possible.
big names, and they're charming, and they flatter you with, you kind of get sucked into this constant fundraising, I guess. How much do you use like other fintech platforms? Like earlier we learned that N26 has Raisin on the platform and is distributing it. Is that part of the strategy that you kind of partner with other platforms who are more on a horizontal base? I know you do it with Deutsche Bank in the offline world.
No, yeah, it's very much at the core of our strategy that we want to be the middleware to settle this, the business in this product category, and then we have on the one side the deposit-taking banks, on the other side we have the point-of-sale owners, people like Deutsche Bank or even non-banks who with our platform can offer to their own customers third-party deposit products. So it's very much our strategy, and then obviously we have our own proprietary point-of-sale platforms like Zinspilot and Savedo, and they are great, but the middleware is the vision.
Yeah. I have quite a few mortgages, so I have problems telling you, but I wish you rising interest rates. I guess that's good for your business, right?
That's how I would see it too.
Wonderful. Congratulations.
Thanks,
for
Marco.
both of you. Very, very happy you came to see us today. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Marco.
Amazing,
Thanks for having us, Marco.
amazing
Thank you.
business.